What's up, Bill? Welcome. Doesn't look like
How's
we
it
got
going, man?
anybody in here. I see some comments. Let's wait till a few guys get in here. Here they come.
That sounds good.
What's up, guys? I got Bill on here today. Welcome to El Gato Azul TV. This is our first stream from the living room. So the weatherman had a day of cold weather planned in his book, and I woke up this morning and it said 54 is the high and south wind, and I was like, damn it. we screwed up on that trip, but we're going to ask or answer a few questions about rigs, and Bill's going to talk a little bit about catching big fish in a kayak. We're going to try to explain how, why, and when we use these rigs, and hopefully, some of you guys might be able to pick up a few things and use them with the way y'all fish. But these are, for me, this is going to be planer board rigs for big fish. But before we get started, I wanted to thank everybody that's joined us, especially this last month, man. We've really grown. I think having Bill on the channel, and we make a pretty good team when we fish, and he shares the same, enthusiasm and passion as I do for catching these fish. And it's been a ton of fun fishing with him. So we're going to try to keep this thing going. Let's see who all's in here, Bill. Let me run down this list. 351 Cleveland. What's up, buddy? Warrior Heart Fishing. Skin and Scales. What's up, Ron? Welcome. Catfish Fever and Outdoors. Killer B. Flying Fish TV. Big Mike. What's up, Big Mike?
Hey, Dan, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Dan? Which one's Dan? Flying Fish?
Flying Fish TV.
What's up, Dan? Welcome, buddy. It is not snowing here. We are in a thaw out right now, so it's supposed to get up to 54 today. It'll melt all that off. We got Rustic. What's up, Rustic? Welcome, buddy. And Spencer. What's up, Spence? We saw Spencer on the lake. Uncle Josh. What's up, my brother? Josh is making me a badass blade, guys. It's going to be sick. Let's see. Kaz, how you doing? Welcome. All right, guys. We're approaching this 500 mark really quickly. It just seemed like a couple of months ago we were at 200. And, since I started doing these live streams, it's taken off. Having Bill on board's really helped. So as we get closer to this 500, we're going to start trying to figure out something we can give away when we hit it. I was thinking about giving away a Mad Cat's rod, since I've been pushing them so hard, and they've helped me out with my get together. And I was going to try to get some input from the Catfish family on which model I should give away, and which action or rod you guys would prefer me to put up for the giveaway. So, currently I'm using medium heavies for my long lines, and I'm using the medium lights for my planer board rigs. So, if you'll leave me something in the comment, either after the video or either in the live stream, leave a comment on what rods you guys prefer, which color model you like. And, I'll take we'll put them all together and figure out which one's the most popular, and I'll get that one for the giveaway. So, today we're going to talk planer board rigs and big fish rigs, basically, and why and when we use them. Any of you guys that have been watching Bill know he's a kayak fisherman, and he catches a ton of these big fish. We fish a little bit differently, so I'm going to, ask him kind of what rigs he likes to use when he's fishing for them. And I'm going to show y'all how I tie mine and my favorite rig for the big baits, and then my giant baits. So I use two different rigs when I'm fishing, and I use pretty much three different hooks. I'm going to let Bill start, and he can kind of tell y'all a little bit about himself and how he likes to fish for these big fish on his kayak.
Well, I can't see the comments. Chris, I don't know what I got going on. I don't see
Okay.
any of the comments. Me and Chris are trying to figure this out because we want to end up doing like a split screen with the kayak and the boat.
I'm gonna
At the
post
same
some of these
time.
comments as they come up, Bill, so I can put them on the screen. If you can read what's on the screen. Here's one from Rustic.
Absolutely. That's why we do it. We call it a Texas sleigh ride. So I started out kayak fishing offshore. That was that was what I originally started with, and catching big sharks, stuff like that, kingfish. And I was looking for something in the off season that would kind of compete with that, that give me that same adrenaline rush, and everything. And big blue cats fit the bill. And so it's probably, I really only targeted them out of a kayak for probably 4 or 5 years now, something like that. And it's the closest thing that you can get to an offshore fish, in my opinion, unless you go after like a big alligator gar or something like that. But that's how I got my start blue cat fishing out of the kayak. And yes, absolutely. You get anything over, I'd say 25, and you're in for it. Chris, yeah, Chris had talked about where our stuff differs, and we basically run the same kind of leader. My rod and reel setups are a lot lighter than his, and the reason for that is the kayak kind of acts like drag, even with big sharks and stuff like that. So you can get away with a lot smaller setup because the kayak itself acts as drag, and it's the same thing with the blue cat. So really, the biggest reels that I use are Abu size reels for big cats.
Like a 6500?
6500s, man. That's my go-to. Just because I don't need the drag like Chris does, because you're in a bigger, heavier boat. So those fish they can't pull you around, as good. And in a kayak, you don't need that kind of drag. So that's why I lost.
You there? Oh, we lost Bill. What's up, Lance? How's it going, buddy? Bill probably come back in here in a second. We'll see. Hopefully he can get reconnected, but I'll start talking about planer board rigs. My first rig that I like to use is for my biggest bait. Now, I run my biggest baits in the winter. Let me get Bill back in here.
You there?
Yeah, you here?
Yeah, it cut me out. I don't know what happened.
All right,
Technology.
we got Bill back. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, basically, so the rods and reels I use are quite a bit smaller than what Chris uses. I absolutely have been totally impressed with the Mad Cat rods and the Shimano reels that Chris uses for the application that he's using. Absolutely exactly what you need to be using. I'd be scared to bring some of my rods and reels on his boat because I got a feeling we'd be losing a lot of big fish. Just because they're going to overpower that reel. You know what I mean? Because what is a 6,500, 15 pounds of drag?
Yeah,
Chris?
something like that. It might. I think it's rated at 15. It might be 20, but
yeah,
that's one of the reasons we upgraded. We started running these Dakota 500s about 7 years ago, and we switched. When they came out with the new, it's called a Dakota A. It's a higher gear ratio for really. I think it's 37 inches per crank. And it's got a more amped up drag, which I think is really needed when you're pulling a big giant planer board with a giant bait and you got a big ass fish on. That to me, a 6,500 is just way undersized. You're working; it's taking you forever to get everything reeled back in, and that's why I switched. It's been a huge difference on our boat.
Oh, I can absolutely see what you're saying because it does make a huge difference. the line cranks and stuff like that. It makes a tremendous amount of difference with the reels that you're using versus what I'm using. Of course, that would be for me to go to that size reel and those size rods. It'd be a little unwieldy in the kayak too.
Yeah.
If you got a second, Chris, I'll grab one of my rods. It's right here.
Yeah, go for it. So, guys, when you've got a long line out and you've got a planer rod or planer board out, you've got a long line behind the planer board, you've got a long line to the planer board, and then you've got quite a bit of give and play before that fish will sink the hook. I think when I switched to these, Dakota 600s with that higher gear ratio where you can get 37 inches per crank, you're sucking that, you're really pulling all that slack out of the line on these long line planer boards, because my biggest baits are out the furthest and farthest away from the boat. So when you do get one hooked up, we used to lose a lot more when we ran the 6500s, but these Dakotas, you can crank down on them and you're sucking that line up quickly, and it's just burying the hook a lot better with a little beefed up drag. Whereas, on a 6500, you catch a 40 pounder and he's just he just rip and drag, and you can't hardly get a good hook up on him. And you would lose some because you'd either skin hook them or you just wouldn't get a deep hook set. And you pick it up and you reel him in 20 yards and then he's gone. And that's freaking painful. But Josh had a question. Killer B said, what's the difference in similarities in shark versus a catfish rig wise?
Not a whole lot.
And they fish similar, right? I mean, fishing for sharks is pretty similar to fishing for a big blue cat.
It's like fishing for a big blue cat. Exactly what it is. Of course, you don't drift and drag and stuff like that. Most of the time, you try to anchor out.
So you're anchored up in a kayak.
Yeah, then you want to get off the anchor as quickly as possible because you don't want that fish turning you around. But to be honest with you, the reels, the rods, everything is just an upsized version of what you're already using for a kayak. Hooks, all your leader material. That's why I love sharks so much. It's just like they're big saltwater catfish, and they fight very similar. You get a big bull shark, and it's not a whole lot different than a big blue cat. I was going to show you guys one of my rod and reel combos. You can see right here in a kayak, this is a pull noodle that basically I've split in half and taped up to the reel, but it's just a 6500 rocket. I have a buddy, Jamie Gray, who makes these rods for me. This one's called the Catnip. You can see the little double T there. Yeah. And this is an acid wrap. I don't know that Chris does any of that, or I haven't seen any cat fishermen besides myself that do it. But basically, you probably can't see it, but the eyes twist around the rod. And at the end of the rod, they're on the other side. And what that basically does is when you have a real big fish, it takes off all the torque off your wrist. You can just almost sit there and hold that rod with one hand and not have to worry about it trying to flip on you.
Yeah, I've never even heard of that, Bill.
Yeah, it's called an acid wrap.
Acid wrap.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Because
the first time they came out, someone had said, this is a story that I heard, someone had to be on acid to wrap a rod like that. So it just stuck. So it's called the acid wrap.
What's up?
I cannot see the comments, Chris. So if you got any questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah, Bob said no whiskey today. And I'm like, I'm home and I'm not fishing. So there's a little something in my cup. I'm sitting by the fire. We're having a fireside chat, Bob. My buddy Tim, he's on. What's up, Tim? And your buddy says, Bill, we need to do some dock demon fishing challenges.
This guy, Chris, right here, for all your viewers, if you haven't checked him out, I've talked about him before. His name's Dan, Flying Fish TV. And that guy he was in Hawaii forever. And just another guy I met on YouTube that I got to fish with. Amazing individual, man. If you haven't checked out his channel, big yellowfin tuna, wahoo, sharks. Man, I don't know why it keeps kicking me out. He kicked me
Sorry,
out again.
guys. Technical difficulties on my end.
Well, we're going to work this out before we go fishing, Chris.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, check Dan out. Flying Fish TV catches just sea monsters out of a kayak, and just a legitimately one of the best guys I've ever fished with.
Cool, man. Cool. I'll
Yeah.
check him out. I think that I might have already subbed to him, but I don't know that I get his notifications. So,
Yeah, he's a pretty cool dude.
well, my buddy Tommy's on here. He says, "Oh, he's asking Tim where he fished today." Well, guys, we were going to go fishing, but the weatherman said it was going to be in the high mid 40s, and I thought, hell, that's too cold for my son. He'd just be complaining and laid up under the blankie all day. So I woke up this morning and they had changed the forecast to 54 with a south wind, and I'm like, damn it, we could have had a 500-pound day today, but here we are.
I think we screwed up, Chris.
What's that?
I think we screwed up.
Yeah, we definitely did. You don't get too many chances at the conditions we got today. Let's see. It says I got another guest.
I just pulled up on my computer so I could see the comments. I don't know why I can't see them, but I've got it up on my computer now.
So we're going to hit next weekend hard. We've got a big warm up this week. I don't really like that for this time of year. It's like fishing in the spring. They could be deep one day. If you get a big warm up, they could go up into 2 feet of water trying to get warm. And, we got 68-degree temps like 4 days in a row this week, but we do have temps in the 30s in the morning. So I'm hoping by Saturday next weekend, there's still going to be some fish out deep where we can drift for them. I prefer to drift for big fish than anchoring up. I will anchor. It's so much more work, and you got to travel longer distances to go find them. You got to scan harder. You got to do all that. But we're gonna give them hell next weekend. So we'll be back live on the water. I think I'm gonna try to get Bill to go split screen on his kayak, and he's either going to fish the fish wherever we decide to go. Or he's going to go to Tawakoni, which is our best trophy lake in Texas. So I'm going to start doing more split screens with guys. Any guys that that are fishing the same day as me and you're on our live, I'm going to start putting up the link, and y'all come on and we can fish together live split screen. I've been trying to get my buddy Tim. He fishes the lake we've fished the last 2 or 3 weeks. Lake Lavon. It's a great blue cat lake. He's an excellent fisherman. Been trying to get him going on these lives. So hopefully, I think he's starting to the ice is thawing on his thoughts on this stuff. So I think he's starting to like it. And it's kind of a big bite to take off when you first start doing these. They're not, the technology and all that crap tends to kind of scare guys off, but once you start doing them, it's easy and it's fun. And I know me and Bill have had fun fishing together, and we're going to try to start fishing same days and doing live streams, even if we're on different fisheries, or if he's down at the coast, we're going to blue cat and he's going to catch sharks or whatever. So I'm looking forward to starting to do more of that, and I think it's going to be pretty cool. Spencer said the bite was awful yesterday and bait was hard to find.
I'd imagine, man, as cold as it's been. Whew.
Yeah, Spence, I don't know what kind of net you're throwing, buddy, but you got to go in the very deepest hole of your lake, as deep as your net will go, and you'll pull out 100 freaking pounds of bait. And I guarantee you, anywhere in North Texas was like that yesterday. If you can find a little channel that they bury down in, a little submerged pond, anything like that around 40 feet would have been stacked up yesterday. It's going to be stacked in there today, and it's going to be stacked up in there tomorrow. So if I were fishing, I'd be out in somewhere around in that depth, 40, 45, 50 feet, and I'd be very close to the channel. Today I would be in the channel. Tomorrow I would be pretty dang close to it, right around that channel. Uh, what's up, local 336? How's it going, buddy? Welcome. And when we have a big hard cold snap, those fish, they tend to look for something that is that's warmer. That could be a little pond, the channel, anywhere that's a little bit deeper that is holding a little bit warmer water, and they will stack in there so thick. When you drop your net, you won't even know what the hell you're dropping on. It'll be 10 foot thick of bait. So put that in your database in your brain, and next time we have these types of situations, break out that deep net, and bait is super easy. What's up, Lance? All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about my big fish rig first. I start using this rig in October. As soon as we get a really good cool off, the water starts getting into the 60s, low 60s. I'll break this rig out. That's when the gizzard shads start to group up out in mid depths. The bigger fish start chasing those grouped up fish more. They're starting to look for a larger bait that's maybe not getting predated so much by the other fish. Most of the year it's shad and gizzard shad and threadfin shad, but as its water starts cooling off, other fish start getting lethargic and they start looking for bigger bait. So over the years, I've played around with bait size, and I still throw small baits, but I'm always putting out big baits, and that's generally what's catching our biggest fish every week. If we're going to get a big one, it's going to be on our biggest, baddest bait. So when I do it, I usually so I'm running 6 planer boards and 2 long lines. On my outside planer boards, I'm using I got two big bait boards. I've been using these big Parks planers. These things are giant. These will float a monster bait. And really, I've come to realize it's probably a little bit too big, but it works really good if you're in a really big water day where there's a lot of wind. You want to come say hello? Okay. So it works on big water days, big wind days. These tend to pull good. The waves don't affect them, where another board will get pushed back this way and start blowing like into the boat. These things are big, and the waves aren't pushing them around so much, and they continue to pull good. But they just don't spread that well. So these Parks boards I've just now switched to are called river boards. This is a large Parks board that these are the normal size most guys use. This is the river board. It's got a lot more foam. It's got about another inch of foam length, but it's also about double the thickness. So
Chris made a believer out of me on these planer boards, guys.
I use these on these big baits, Bill. When I say big baits, I'm saying anything that's bigger than your hand. So my hands, I got big hands. I'm 6'2", but this is probably about 8-inch bait. I'll use a 10-inch bait. I'll cut the tail off. And the rig that I'm using, I tie a stinger rig. I don't know if you guys can see that, but the stinger I've been using is a 10-aught Dale's Bloodline. I'll start tying my rig with a snell knot, a regular snell on the Dale's hook. I go up to a 13-aught Nocturnal Nation Lucky 13 hook. These hooks have changed my game completely in the last 5 weeks.
Nasty.
These things are incredible hooks, guys. You asked Bill. We have been sinking these damn hooks through the tooth plate of 30, 40-pound fish completely through the tooth plate. I've
All the
been
way.
fishing long time for these things. I can't ever remember putting a hook through a tooth plate. It'll go through bone. You don't want to get these in you, but great hooks. If you guys are looking for monster hooks, these are the best ones I've seen. It's really super offset. I mean, that thing is really pronounced. They have this.
Hey, Chris,
they have
I
a
spent about $30 at Nocturnal Nation the other day buying some myself.
They're not cheap, Bill, but I tell you, man, if it
They're
saves you
awesome.
a couple of 50-pounders throughout the season, to me, I'm willing to pay an extra $20 for the season on my hooks.
Yeah, you made a believer out of me, man.
And you know, these Dale hooks they're pretty equal as I mean, these things sink into we were putting these through bone as well. They don't bury as deep as these, but these Dale hooks are incredible as well. From there, I'll top. This is a simple snell knot, so I go with a regular snell on the back. Then the leader goes up about 6 to 7 inches to a simple snell. From the simple snell, I got about 4 inches of leader line to my rattle. In between that, I got 4 beads. These are pink. I don't know that bead color matters. I just use a natural type of color. Pink, red, blue, silver, clear, chartreuse even. I don't think it matters, but I use a natural color. I put these rattles on here on my biggest baits. These are a 2-part for 2 reasons. One is it adds a little extra sound for when a smaller fish is knocking this thing around and can't take down a big bait. It's creating a lot more sound. But these are also buoyant. And if you've got a 9-inch bait back here, that thing's wanting to go like this. This is floating it up a little better. Just helps you float your bait. So from there, I'm going Palomar knot to my this one is, let's see, what rattle is this? This is a battle rattle from Mad Cats. I use battle rattles. I also use the Demon Dragons like everybody else. But I tend to use a variety because I think having that variety is better. Usually the fish are going to choose one rig over the rest on that day. You can ask Bill. When we fished, we caught 75% of our fish off of this one rig on one side of the boat. They were hammering this thing. From there, I got another Palomar knot. Tie that up to about a 2.5 foot leader. To another Palomar knot to my swivel. This is a 2-aught Roscoe made in the USA swivel. These things are like rated at 400 pounds of tensile strength. You will not ever break one of these. From there, I put another bead. And let's see here. Pull one off the rod. From there, I've got a rubber bumper bead to my main line. And I like to use a sinker slide. Some guys use a 3-way rig. I've tried the 3-way rig. I just prefer this. I think sometimes when they're weight shy and they pick it up, they will drop a 3-way rig, whereas this will just allows it to, gives it a little extra play. I get these blue sinker slides off Amazon. They are the lightweight ones. And the reason I use these lightweight ones is because when you do get hung up with this expensive ass, when you do get hung up with your slinky and your expensive ass rig, a lot of times this small blue bumper sinker slide will break loose and you'll get your rig back. Main line is 30-pound big game. I've been using that for 30 years, so it's always done me right. I'm going to stick with it. I don't see any need for me to change. But that's basically my big fish rig. Guys are like, damn, you use big baits. And I'm like, well, this time of year, that tends to be the one that they want to bite. Me and Bill talked about it while we were on the boat. He's like, man, these are giant baits. They're a little bigger than what I'm used to using. And I said, well, I can promise you, when we do catch a big fish, it's going to be on these big baits. And Bill can attest, our biggest fish all came off those big ass huge baits.
Hey, Chris, real quick, tell them what you told me about like the fish moving to the outside when they see the shadow of the boat or feel the vibration.
Yeah. So guys will say, oh, yeah, I've been running these big baits and I'm not getting any action on them. And I'm like, well, what position are you running them on your rod spread? And they're like, oh, I got them on my long lines behind the boat. And, over time, I have found that big fish are a lot smarter than small fish. And when you're going over them with a big boat, if you are not out in 50 feet of water, they know that boat's coming over them. And you could see them on the graph move away from the boat. And so putting these biggest baits out on your farthest spread out from the boat, those fish are getting pushed out away from the boat and out to those outside planer rods. Now, if you're putting them on your long lines, those big ass fish, they're not coming all the way back around unless they're really aggressive that day. They're never even seeing those big baits. So putting the biggest ones on the outside, that's going to catch your biggest fish 90% of the time. And if you're going to catch one that's over 40 pounds, it's coming off of that bait almost every time. That's why I put them out there. It's just, over time, that's, what I've figured out works for me. Now, everybody does it different. They're like, oh, I don't need small. I just use small baits. I catch big fish on small baits. And I do see guys catching fish on small baits, but, we use both. And most of our big fish are coming off our bigger baits. Guys are like,
I will say this, Chris. I'll attest to exactly what you said because in a kayak, I never had to worry about that because I never ran planer boards until I met Chris, and he told me maybe just spread stuff out a little. So I bought some planer boards and started catching good fish. I've always caught them directly behind the boat, but I'm fishing on a kayak, so it absolutely makes sense. You get on Chris's boat, and he is exactly. I will attest to it. If you get a big one, it's going to come from one of those outside rods. It seems like all the time. So listen to what he's saying because it will make a difference. On a kayak, you've got that little bitty thing, and it's the same thing out at the coast when you're king fishing or anything else. That little boat doesn't seem to bother anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The kayak. But you get a bigger boat, it's the exact same thing king fishing, the boat motor, trolling motor noise, vibration of people walking around, it all makes a difference.
Makes a huge difference. And, some days they're not so boat shy. I don't know why. Certain days they're more brazen than others. They don't seem to mind. But most days, if you're in 40 foot of water or less, they are boat shy and they will move out from the boat and you won't catch any big fish on those back long lines. You'll catch everything on those outside rods. And that goes for most of the season. If you'll just try to do that, put your biggest baits on the outside. The way I do it is I put my biggest ones on the outside and I downsize my baits as I come on to the inside. So my two long lines, by the time I'm on the long lines, I'm using chunks like most guys. I'm using just a big chunk, big enough to catch 5-pounders and up. And if we're going to catch 5-pounders or teeners, which rods do those all come off of, Bill?
The inside rods.
They come off the inside rods almost every time. So
yeah.
Guys are like, oh, they can't seem to really make the commitment to go with a big bait. They think, oh, I'm just going to go small. Well, I got friends that fish next to me year round. And they're like, dude, you just smashed them. Man, you caught all these giant fish and I didn't catch any. I caught eaters. And I'm like, well, how big was your bait? And they're like, I'm just using these medium-sized gizzard shad. And I'm like, well, I mean, this is what I'm using, and you know, this is what we caught. And so I think some of these guys are starting to see kind of what we're doing, and they're trying, and they're starting to have a little more success at it. But you know, if you're going to use a smaller bait, that works great for anchor fishing. I don't think bait size matters when you're anchoring, but when you're pulling baits in the winter, these, I mean, you can't just go however speed you want. You got to go slow when you're presenting these baits, these bigger baits. The reason that I think they work is because when the water temperature gets low into the 40s, and anybody who's ever caught a fish in the water when it's 40s, they bring and it's not a catfish. They bring that fish to the boat and it's just barely flopping around. It's almost like it's about to die. It's just very lethargic. There's not much action to it. If you're catching bass or whatnot, you have to dead stick. You just basically set the thing there. The fish is just, they won't even move to go get the bait. And I think that big catfish, they tend to key in on those lethargic fish this time of year more. They don't want a little, they will eat something small, but they would prefer to get one meal for that day. And if they can get one that's about eight inches long, it's almost like they can't hardly resist that bait. And that's increased our big fish catch rate through the roof since I've, you know, really started going big the last 5 years. It was very hard, like a lot of guys, to commit to something so big. It'll just make you shake your head and laugh when you put something on that big. You're like, damn. Like, but just try it, guys. Put it on those outside rods. This is over muddy bottoms. This time of year, we're out in the deep channel. So you're on the channels. In the spring, I'm fishing a lot of ledges and stuff like that, which is really rocky. You know, so I'm around a lot of rocks in the early fall. And in the spring, I'm up into some pretty shallow stuff. I'm still using some big baits up until, you know, all the way through March, but I'm a lot shallower. We're up in stump fields. And I mean, I fish some pretty thick crap with the same rig. I fish them a little bit differently. I don't put such a long line behind that planer. I'll shorten them up where it's almost vertical. You know, so if you do run into a log or something, your bait will come over it a lot easier without getting a long line that snags it and, you know, hangs it up. But yeah, we do fish a lot of muddy bottoms, silted. Our lakes are really silted in here. But yeah, it works on rocky bottoms. They work everywhere.
Over logs, sticks, rocks. That's what's the great
You're gonna
about the
lose
weight.
some rigs. That's part of the game, you know. But I'll tell you another thing is
Hey Stevie, how's it going, man? Dan, you'd love this fishing, man, for sure. I promise you.
Yeah, Dan, you need to. I don't know where you're located, man, but you're welcome to come on down and fish with us anytime, buddy. And I'll bring Bill, and we can all have a good old time. Y'all can kayak, fish next to the boat. I can port y'all around, and you know, I was telling Bill, I'm impressed with what Bill does because I know that I have to grind my ass off to find these fish. And you know, even though I've been fishing for these things for a big part of my life, they're not always where you think they're going to be. Actually, they rarely are. I mean, the first spot you check, you know, maybe out of 5 trips they're there, and I got to go look to find them. But you know, when you're on a kayak, you can't just run all over the freaking lake when you don't see fish. So I'm very impressed with what Bill does because he's able to game plan and figure out multiple locations that have to be fairly close to each other. I'll let Bill tell you about how he game plans for when he's fishing for these things. But
well, I do a lot of waiting. Chris does a lot of catching. I do a lot of waiting. So I got to kind of wait it out a lot of times. And I do the same things that Chris does. I look for good structure. I look for where they're going to be, where the bait's going to be. Same thing, just like Chris. But like Chris says, I'm not as mobile. So a lot of mine is I'll have a lot of skunk trips, and I can't move around a lot, so I have to kind of wherever I'm going to put in, I have to have several options close that I can paddle to or prepare to wait all day, because sometimes they won't be in the spot in the morning, but they'll move through. You know what I mean? Just like any other fish.
Yeah. Bob Dodd, he's a local angler. He's comes and fishes the Catfish get together. He's a good dude. He's helped donate the trophy, but he's asking, do you ever suspend baits as well?
On the kayak?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. I've not been one of the guys that I watch on YouTube is Kayak Catfish, Justin.
Yeah.
He's in Tennessee and he does a lot of suspending. And I've tried it here in Texas. I have just not had the success that I have dragging. You know what I mean? So when you have success, it kind of breeds confidence, you know,
Yes,
and
sir.
you'll end up going to what works, you know. And so I find myself drifting a lot more than I do suspending. I love it. There's nothing like the takedown, a hard takedown 25 foot underneath you that just bows the rod over and nearly flips the kayak. It's awesome when you can get it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm the same way, Bill. I have found that, over a 10 trip period, if I were to suspend my rods, only one of those trips would actually produce any decent fish. And they would not usually produce my biggest fish. I have caught some big like that, but you got to be pretty deep. Uh, if you're in a big boat, you got to be in pretty deep water to suspend straight down. I think when you're in a river and you're in current, it's probably a lot different. You can do that. But on these lakes, when it's not real choppy or whatnot, the fish, they know you're there. Bigger ones are smart. They don't want to come up and bite that thing.
I hadn't had a whole lot of luck with it, Chris.
If you stick it out, you will have a day where you catch fish suspended like that off the bottom. But over time, I have found the further you get your stuff away from the boat, the better you'll be. Um,
Agreed.
That's going to be 95% of the trips. If you can get your stuff far away from the boat, you will have better success. The only difference is that where I will suspend baits is in the summertime when there's a thermocline set up. And, there's a certain time of the year around here in Texas when we get a pretty hard thermocline. And, the bait fish will move out and become more pelagic, and which is like an open water. Just they get out into that open water. They might be up on structure early in the morning, but as soon as they come off of that structure, they move out into open water. The sand bass are underneath them, pushing them around, and the catfish will just suspend. You might be out in 50 feet of water, and they'll be 20 feet suspended off of the bottom. And I have done well suspending baits and fishing for them like that, but it's doesn't happen a lot. Usually in the summer, I just get up early and fish structure, so I can beat that bite that's out in the middle of the lake, suspended, just because it's more work. They're harder to find when they're out in the middle of the lake. Some lakes the birds are working hard and you can follow the birds around, but our lake, the dump is right next to the lake, and a lot of the birds are over at the dump. They don't they're not out chasing bait like some of these other fisheries. You can just follow the birds around them.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to say hi to Steve Vell. He's a police officer up there where I work, and he's out working today. Thanks, Stevie.
Awesome,
Thanks
Steve.
for joining us.
Thanks for your service, man. So Bill, he's a police officer as well, which I fully respect that. I think that's cool. And, it's we all come from different walks of life. And, I have fishermen friends that are firefighters and paramedics. And now I got a good buddy that's a police officer. And who would have known a hell-raising, wild-ass Texas boy have a police officer as one of his best friends? But, I think it's pretty cool. Bill's a really great guy, and I've enjoyed fishing with him.
Hey, what else? Oh, I lost you for a second there, Chris.
Sorry, guys. More technical difficulties.
Well, at least we're getting it ironed out now before next week when we split screen, you know?
Yeah. So I was telling guys we're going to start split screening on the water and fishing together, even if we're on different fisheries. We'll probably start by doing it on the same fisheries, and so we can kind of holler at each other and hoot and holler when we catch one. But
Yeah.
you know, Bill lives, it's not like me and Bill live real close to each other. He lives over by Fort Worth and I live north of Dallas. So it is a little extra work for us to get together to fish. And, you know, he's been putting forth a lot more effort than I have to go.
I don't know about that. That dragging that boat around, getting all that stuff ready. Hell, all I brought is sandwiches. You even brought the beer.
Yeah, but we're going to
Yeah,
start
hell,
doing
Chris
this
even
more.
brought
It's
the
fun.
beer. Yeah, we've been having a good time.
Let's see here. What else you want to talk about here, Bill?
Well, we covered our leaders. My leader is almost exactly the same as Chris. The biggest thing that I noticed, and I'm switching stuff around. I use a demon dragon just like Chris does. I never used the rattle and the beads, but I'm going to add that because I've seen a definite deal. Like usually when we come across one big fish in Chris's boat, we're going to double up almost every time. It just seems like those big fish run together, like Chris said. And I've never really experienced that in a kayak. And I think whatever Chris is doing with the rattles and stuff, I'm going to do the same thing because it works. I've been very impressed with his hookup ratio and his bite ratio as well, especially on big fish. So really the only difference in my leader, I ran a little bit longer leader than Chris did. I'm going to shorten my leader up a little and add those rattles as well. I use a demon dragon. I also use a chain swivel to keep the line from rolling and stuff like that. So basically, I use more of a homemade sinker, but I bought some of those ones like Chris just showed you, the slinky type. So I'm going to play with both of them. And the hooks, guys, man, I've never seen, like Chris said, some of these big 35, 40-pound fish to bury through that tooth patch is something that I've never seen. You might just get past the barb on one or something like that. And I don't know if that's because I'm in a kayak and I can't put as much pressure on them, but I don't think so. I think it's because those hooks are super, super sharp.
Yeah, Bill, you know, when I've brought them in the past and I've got them hooked in that tooth plate, it's you get them in the boat and the thing just falls off, the fish just falls off the hook and you're like, holy crap, I'm lucky I caught that thing, you know.
Yeah.
And
hey, Chris, real quick, my buddy, I just noticed Jamie Gray is on the live feed here. He's the guy that builds the rods for me, Gray Dog Rods.
Cool. Welcome, Jamie. Welcome. Hey guys,
Yeah.
give us a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. When you're done here, we'll go over to Killer Bee Outdoors. Make sure you subscribe his channel. I can guarantee you, even if you're not a kayak fisherman, I can guarantee you, I'm not a kayak fisherman either. You will love his channel. It's not just catching big fish. It's Bill was a photographer before he was a police officer, and
Yep.
his videos, he's produced the last two of our videos. I think two, is it two or three now, Bill? Three.
We did 3 together.
So Bill's produced the last 3, and you can definitely see a difference in his videography and my videography and his editing and my editing.
You do good, Chris.
I've learned a lot from Bill, and I can guarantee you my videos are going to be 10 times the videos they were before I fished with Bill, just from the few things that I've picked up from him. So go over to Bill's channel, Killer Bee Outdoors, subscribe, watch one of his videos, send him a comment so that the thing sticks, and help us grow. I mean, he's got a little bigger channel than I do, and he's helped me out, and I'm trying to help him out. So we're just doing this thing like the Catfish family. You know, we try to help each other and help each other grow and help each other improve. And And
I think all my buddies are already subscribed to you,
awesome.
Chris.
I
I'm
appreciate
pretty
you.
sure the ones that I've seen on here all have so far. Dan, Jamie, and Steve. I don't know who else is in there, but
So
if anyone has any, go ahead, Chris.
Bill not only is an excellent kayak fisherman who goes all over the Texas, all over the world, really. He's gone down to, was it Panama, and fished out in the, you know, fished out deep for big fish. And, but he's also a pretty damn good hunter. He's got some really cool hunting videos where he's using, FLIR scopes with the videoing the FLIR as he's shooting, pigs or, long range deer hunting, all kinds of cool stuff. So, if you're not just into fishing, if you like hunting like a lot of us, um, he's got some really cool stuff on that as well. And he also has the drone. So, it's his stuff's like, I know some of you guys have heard it before, but his stuff's like art. And I think y'all enjoy it if you go check it out.
I'll tell you what, to be honest with you, I learned a lot of that from Dan, Flying Fish TV. If you guys are looking at a way to get better at videoing and check his stuff out, man. He's on another level. You know what I mean? Like with his and he's so meticulous. Like when you're fishing with him, we're out in the saltwater on a kayak, and he's like prepped these little lens pads to wipe his GoPros off and stuff beforehand because he doesn't want them fogging. I mean, this guy is like next level with the videography, and he's just his stuff's amazing. I can't say it enough. If you get a chance, check him out. It'll inspire you to do a lot of different stuff. I did 2 videos with Dan last summer where he came to the Texas coast, and we did some reef fishing. We hit a couple of rigs, and they're action packed, kind of like me and your videos, Chris. A lot of crazy stuff going on.
Cool, man. I'm going to come down there and fish the coast with you one of these days, hopefully soon.
Oh, you will not regret it.
I love fishing the coast, man, and you tend to do a hell of a lot better than I do when I go down there. So.
We got to get you on the kayak, man.
Yeah,
that's
hey, I'm game. I'm game.
Yeah.
I've got a kayak, but I'm not. I've never taken it offshore like that. That's freaking crazy.
I got 2. No worries, man.
I don't have one with freaking pedals either, so that would have to be.
Nah, I got you covered. You can borrow one of mine.
Yeah, cool, man. I appreciate that.
Does anyone have any questions on filming, editing? I was telling Chris, if you do have a YouTube channel, this is one of the things that Dan told me when I was with him, and I was like a sponge just soaking it up. He said, shoot a lot of B-roll because you never know when you're going to use that stuff. Anything you see, you can ask Chris. If I see something crazy, I'm digging for the camera. We might be right in the middle of a fish fight, and I'm trying to get the camera on. Chris like, what are you doing? He's like, man, we're trying to catch fish here. And I was like, I know, but you'll appreciate it later. So yeah, just make sure you always have a camera ready that you can get anything and kind of document your trip,
Your buddy Steve says, El Gato, I hear you have a family fun fishing tournament coming up. Do you have any details? Yeah. I do have some details, and I appreciate you bringing that up, Steve. So it's going to be April 3rd on Lake Louisville at Westlake Park. We are having a catfish get-together, which is we're basically bringing our local catfish community together so guys can get connected. They can build, they can introduce themselves, hopefully make some connections so that the guys can ask each other questions for lake intel, but also so you can get new fishing friends. I know last year we made some connections where guys are still fishing together this year. But the biggest reason I'm doing it, or I started doing it, was to help get the junior anglers excited about catfishing, to kind of introduce them to what we do. Spring is not going to be big fish season, so hopefully we'll catch somebody will catch a few, but we're going to catch a bunch most likely. And so what we do is we have a junior angler big fish competition. So the kid with the biggest fish is going to win a trophy. He's going to win a fishing rod from Mad Cat's Rods. We got a bunch of other gear we're going to give away that Mad Cat's has donated, but we also have a junior angler small fish prize. So the kid who catches the smallest fish, he's going to win a fishing rod. He's going to win some gear. We also have a open fish division, open for anybody. Don't have to be a kid. They're going to win a rod from Mad Cats. We got a ton of gear we're going to give away. I haven't exactly decided on how we're going to give the gear away, but we're going to be giving away battle rattles from Mad Cats, a towel. We got decals. We got a hat. We've got some other guys have donated stuff as well. We've got people that are going to donate reels and other rods, and it's going to be a cool event, not just for the kids, but also anybody's welcome. So it's free to attend, and hopefully, I think we're going to be able to start doing this every year as it grows. It's I got a lot of friends that are going to be helping me put it on. They've helped donate. They've donated money. They're donating their time. They're going to help. We're also having a fish fry too. So we'll do a weigh-in, and then we'll have a little fish fry so people can eat and enjoy themselves and, talk about the fun time we just had catching fish.
You gonna have any of that Yingling beer there, Chris?
I'll have a giant cooler of Yingling. I tell everybody, bring whatever you like to drink, but I'll have a giant cooler full of it. So come here, buddy.
No.
Come here for a second. You want to earn something? Come say hello.
Like what?
Come here.
Oh, Action Jackson. He called me the other night, man. He got a hold of Chris's phone, and I was talking to him for a while, and I was like, "Do you know who this is?" And he's like, "Yep, this is Killer B."
Come here.
Everybody's gonna give me
A treat.
Danimals, I hear you're coming fishing with Chris next weekend. Where are y'all going?
Go to the store. Let me pick it out.
Steve, is that Yankee beer? Well, I eat Yankee chili too. So I'm from Texas, lived here my whole life, but I like chili or beans in my chili. A lot of people don't. They say that's Yankee chili. I say it's good.
This is Action Jackson. He's last year's junior big fish champion. He caught the biggest fish and he caught the smallest fish. So we cleaned house last year. We ended up giving everything away to other people, but he kept the trophy. You gonna win this year? Jackson said he gonna win this year. Go get your trophy.
Oh, Jamie, he don't like that Yankee chili, I guess. Hey, is Yingling is that Yankee beer?
No, Yingling. It's let me go get one. I'll see where it's made.
It's pretty dang good,
here,
man.
Buddy.
Yeah, Chris hadn't told me where y'all are going. Oh, there it is, Jackson. What does that say on it? I can't see. Jackson was a junior big fish angler at Chris's event last year, so I'm excited to make that. I believe it's the first weekend in April. I'm going to be there. Hopefully some of my friends as well.
Okay, Daniel says it's a Pennsylvania beer, so it is somewhat of a Yankee beer.
It's good, whatever it is.
Pottsville, Pennsylvania, America's oldest brewery.
Yeah. I say you guys too, man. Of course, my stepdad was a Yankee.
It's damn good beer. I'll have a bunch of it.
Whew. I'm looking forward to the event.
What's that?
I'm looking forward to the event, Chris.
I am too. I think this year's going to be huge, Bill. And let me take that one off of there. I think it's going to be a huge event. I've got a lot of people that have committed, not just anglers, but their time as well. But we're going to have shore anglers this year as well. I'm going to go chum the area for about a week before. So guys that are shore anglers will have a good chance to catch some channel cats. And Steve says he's coming for that trophy action, Jackson. Keep it polished.
He's got a daughter. He's got a daughter. She is a fishing fool. She's in one of my videos from the coast catching bull reds, and there's 4 of them on one rod. They look like they're raising the flag of Iwo Jima. It's hilarious. Her name's Callista. She's awesome.
So
she's sick.
Go get the new trophy. Go get the new trophy. We got new trophies. Get the skunk trophy too. We got a skunk on the boat trophy, guys, this year for the boat that gets smoked. Hey, what's up, Lyle? How's it going, buddy? No, just get one of the big ones.
Hey, Chris, I'm trying to twist out of Danimals where you guys are going fishing next weekend.
Oh, Daniel, what's up, buddy? I just now saw you. Okay, you were talking about the beer. So we're gonna have a warm up this week. Go the other way.
Dad, which one's the goodest one?
One that has a junior. Get the one that says Junior Big Fish Champion.
Like, which side is it on?
I'm not sure. Just go see which one says Junior on there. You can read. What's up, Alvin? What's up, Dale, buddy? How's it going, man? We talked rig talks, and now we're just shooting the breeze about the Catfish get together a little bit, giving a little update and explaining kind of what it is and what we're doing. But my boy's going to go grab the Big Fish trophy. We've got a junior Big Fish trophy, an open Big Fish trophy, and a skunk on the boat award.
Oh, this one.
Here's the junior Big Fish trophy. Got a big metal catfish. Is this light or is this heavy?
Heavy.
It's heavy. This is a pretty cool little trophy. This is the Big Fish champion. Azul's Catfish Get Together 2022. Big Fish champion. Go big or go home.
Oh, you got a skunk trophy too, man.
This is the skunk on the boat trophy.
Woo.
Azul Spring Catfish Get Together. Skunk on the boat. And this is the Texas Tornado.
He's got Batman and I don't know what else he's got there.
That's the elf on the shelf.
Oh, man. I thought he was supposed to fly back up to Santa, man.
This just the one that holds the candy. He found this one. His mom found that one yesterday somewhere where she was packing.
Does anyone have any more rig questions that we can answer for y'all? I noticed someone asked about filming equipment. If Chris will give me a second, I'll go over it real quick. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, go for it, Bill. I'll talk as long as you want, man.
I got a couple of GoPros that I use. These are GoPro Hero 8s. Nothing fancy. I usually run a remote on my hand so I can get it turned on quick, but they're just Hero 8s. And then I always have this on the boat, and I'll keep it in a waterproof Pelican case here. And this is what I do most of the B-roll and stuff on. This is a Sony A6300, and then it's got a 18 to 110 zoom lens, and it's got a deal where you can zoom in and out right there like a little lever. And I want to say you can shoot in 4K with this, but I mostly shoot 1080p, 1080 by 60 or whatever. It's light, it's small. You can see it fits in the palm of your hand, and you can really do some shooting with this thing. This is what I do all my B-roll and stuff. But you can see it's about the size of your hand, and it's got a pretty good zoom lens on it where you can zoom in and out. The only other thing that I use to film.
So, what he's calling B-roll stuff, my wife is like, Chris, Bill's stuff is incredible. You've got to start getting. All right. Now y'all know why we call him the Texas Tornado. Rock and roll, baby. All right. Hey, you need to practice your guitar. I don't want to hear that. Take that into your room.
That's my guitar. I'm really good, right?
The last thing that I use is a drone, guys. I just pulled out to show you guys. And that's it. 2 GoPros, my big camera, and then the drone. And then when I'm editing, I use the free software that comes with your Mac. It's iMovie. It's got everything that I need to edit. I'm not the most technological sound person, so anything that's pretty easy to use, I'm all about it. So I use iMovie to edit. But there's several softwares. I think Dan uses Adobe Premiere. Dan's a little more he's a little more savvy with that stuff than I am, though, for sure. Jamie, Dan, mothership trip. I hope so. I've been telling Dan, Jamie, that you were going to take us 40 miles offshore with our kayaks and dump us out there. So don't let me down. Jamie's got a 24-foot Sportsman, Chris.
Oh man, I'm coming. I'm coming, buddy. I'm coming.
Gonna be a good time.
Bob says, how do you power the GoPros? Lots of pair batteries or a power feet? I think he means spare batteries.
Yeah, Bob, I'm not going to lie to you. I just carry extra batteries because on the kayak, you have to worry if you've got that camera open and something happens and you take a spill, your camera's done. So you basically got to keep I would love to get some of these big takedowns and stuff, but it's very hard in a kayak because you need to keep it. You got water splashing around, the fish are splashing water, and you can't really keep a feed or keep a battery like that. I love Chris's deal where you can kind of hook up a battery and run stuff. And you can get some of those big takedowns with Chris's stuff, especially with the GoPro 9 and a GoPro 10, because they have that backup where they'll go 30 seconds prior to where you hit record, and then they'll back all that up and you can see it. So hope that answers your question.
So I'll tell you, Bob, I just got this. It's called the Juice Box from YOLO Tech. YOLO Tech is they specialize in gear for fishermen with your GoPro. And what this is, just Juice Box is I don't know how much battery reserve, but it says you can do 8.5 hours of video with this. It's basically a power that hooks onto your mount, and you put your GoPro mounts on top of that. So you can plug this in. GoPro plugs into your Juice Box, and it powers up. You can run that thing all day. The other thing that I use for my camera that's like doing a live stream, that thing's pulling a lot of power. Let me go grab it. I'll be right back, guys.
Fishing Local had a question. No, I don't have a trolling motor on my kayak. I just use the old foot powered ones. I've got an Old Town Big Water, and then my go-to offshore kayak for offshore fishing is going to be a Hobie Outback, and it's a prior 2018 because in my opinion, they screwed it up after that. They kind of redesigned the whole front end. It takes on water and stuff.
So I also, Bob, for my live streams and on I'm using my phone. I use the new iPhone 13 or whatever it is, but it pulls a lot of power when you're running that thing. So I use this. This is a Halo. This is a power station. It's got a 12-volt plug. You can plug in 12 volt if you need it. It also has two 5-volt, 2.4 amp USB plugs. And it also has a jump start for the motor. I doubt it would actually work, but it's got a jump starter you plug up. It's got cables, jumper cables that you can plug into this thing. This thing is awesome for guys that are fishing on a boat, that are running a lot of power for electronics, or if you've got a kid that's playing video games and needs to charge them, whatever. This thing pretty much will go all day charging everything.
Hey, Chris, my buddy Steve Velasquez here, he wants to know what drift sock to buy. And he was asking me, and I was like, you're not going to buy the same drift sock that I do for your boat. He's got a boat about almost the same size as yours.
Okay.
So maybe you can help him out.
It's drift socks are definitely boat size specific. So I run a 23-foot bay boat, and I've got a T-top. The T-top's like a sail, And but my bay boat is a heavy bay, which is like a hybrid, so you can take it out into blue water. It's heavier than most bay boats. A normal bay boat will drift a lot faster than mine. Mine's a heavier bay boat, so it kind of buoys down into the water. So basically, what I use, the socks that I use, you can no longer get. I'm sorry to tell you that, buddy, but I use the old Cabela 78-inch socks. And when Bass Pro bought Cabela's, um, they discontinued the Cabela version for whatever reason. They still make a 78 for Bass Pro, but it's like not a nylon canvas type deal. It doesn't open as good as that old parachute sock. But I use those 78s. You can't find them anymore, but you can use the Bass Pro ones. They just don't slow you down quite as good. I also have an Easterland Sea Anchor. It's from South Carolina. It's basically started making those for these guys in pontoon boats, because a pontoon has a huge silhouette signature, and you will blow fast and hard when the wind picks up. So it's a 10-foot sock. Easterland, my buddy that has a 21-foot Sea Hunt with a T-top, he uses that 10-foot, and it slows him down good. This time of year, you got to go slow. In the spring, you can go a little faster. In the summer, I'll go 0.6. I'm moving at a pretty fast pace, but I've got a variety of socks I'll use to keep me below 0.5 most of the year. I hope that answers your question, but yeah, a 78 and two 78s if you get up around 15 mile an hour. And if you get up to 20 mile an hour, you'll need 3 of them, or maybe that 10-foot. I use a variety. Just depends on what the wind is that day.
Chris has no problem getting slow. I was very impressed with how large a boat he has, because I was worried about that. But as soon as we got out there, he has it's a Y connection that he's made where he puts directly out behind the motor and uses his trolling motor to go wherever he wants to. And we had no problem slowing down, getting bites, catching fish, because I'm with Chris. This time of year, you're going 0.5, you're too fast. If the water's below 50 degrees, you need to be below 0.5.
Yes.
The colder it gets, the slower you need to go.
I agree. The fish, their metabolism slows down when the water hits to the 40s. They won't chase a bait very far. I mean, some days they'll move a little ways to go get it, but most days they're not going to move very far to go get your bait. Giving them a little extra time to make that decision. I'm going to go get that delicious big flap of meat that's floating by. I think it makes a big difference. I know it makes a big difference. I've got friends that drift next to me, and we'll have 6, 8, 10 boats lined up. Out of 10 boats, 100% of the time, I'm the slowest. And I have always thought the slower, the better. If you're on fish, go slow. If you're not on fish, go a little bit faster. But once you find them, slow down, because it makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I couldn't, in my opinion, besides, knowing where the fish are, it's probably one of the most important things besides bait that you can do, is just make sure that once you have good bait and you've spent all that time getting it, you got to put it in front of them, man. So slow down if you can.
Yeah. And I think, when you're pulling, so when you get in an area that has fish that are somewhat scattered, you'll get into dead zones. If you're trying to hit certain pieces of structure, like when you're lining up, let's say you're going to line up for a drift, you don't just do it blindly. You're looking for things that are going to be holding bigger fish. That could be a submerged pond that you want to hit and go over. That could be a bend in the river channel that you're trying to hit that bend. Anytime you can find something that's different, that's where the bigger fish are going to be 95% of the time. When you're going to get one, it's going to be on a little bump, a little depression. There's maybe a log that's kind of laid over somewhere close to that log. And sometimes I've caught some of my biggest fish off of like a boat that's sunk. It's turned over. It's just, you look at it on your graph and you're like, look at the size of the fish laying next to that boat. Or, a bend in the channel. I think if you can hit those bends in the channel, those are some of the best things that hold big fish. The big fish in general use those channels as highways to move from deeper water to shallower water, and sometimes they stay right on that channel. So
it's not a lot different than hunting. When you're a whitetail hunter, you hunt transition zones. It's the same thing. It's no different than all the soccer moms out jogging on the trails or whatever. You know what I mean? That's the thing they're going to use because it's the easiest way for them to get around.
Yeah, I think
Transitions.
I don't know. For me, I think somewhat it's when the lake wasn't even there, there's a river channel, and that's what they used. And as they're both, even as they've had years of different offspring, they tend to continue to stay in what's called a home zone. And in that zone, they may not move more than, half a mile from that zone. The fish that you find in a certain zone, they're not going to be on the other end of the lake ever. They just don't go over there. And the fish that are on the other end of the lake, they're never, in a different section of the lake. They stay in what's I call a home zone. And if you can focus, if you're a lake fisherman like me and you're fishing certain sections of the lake, there's going to be fish in some of those sections of the lake year round. You may look in a certain area and they're not there, but you could go 200 yards over to a rocky shoreline and there they are. And it's the entire group. They stay together. They use each other as like, they're synergistic type feeders where they're going to stay close to, for instance, I found a group that I've been fishing the last 3 or 4 years that tends to follow these spotted or these long-nosed gar around. These long-nosed gar, they'll run these rocky shorelines and they'll get out and they'll feed on these smaller carp. And when you find those giant long-nosed gar feeding on those adolescent carp, it's like most guys are like, oh, I move away from those carp. But if you're a drift fisherman, you won't hardly get bit by those carp. You can stay underneath them, and there are giant, huge catfish following them around, looking for an easy prey of those carp that get injured from those long-nosed gar. Blue cats, they're pretty lazy predators, and they look for the easy path. In the summer, that might be threadfin shad that, the sand bass are feeding on. Certain time of year, it might be those carp that the gar are feeding on. And then in the winter, it might be the actual sand bass that are just lethargic and sitting out there on those deep flats. And, just trying to, that's what's cool about blue catting. I think it's what's addictive to a lot of us. It's ever changing. There's always multiple patterns every day, every time you fish. It's not like all the fish are in one area. They do congregate in a certain area, but if those fish aren't biting, you can leave those fish and go find a different group that might be feeding on some other type of, fish, and the pattern is completely different. Figuring out those things is, kind of what drives you crazy, but it's what keeps bringing you back and wanting to learn. And I think that's what's cool about blue catting. It's so hard, but it's the longer you do it, you're learning little bitty layers. Every trip, I've been doing this type of fishing for bigger part of than half my life, and I still learn stuff constantly. I mean, almost every trip I learn something. The guys like, you'll never quit learning. Even when you're an old fart, you'll still be learning new stuff. And if you're not the type that's willing to learn and you think you already know it all, you're going to get past. There's going to be somebody else who blows right by you because they're willing to try new things, to look in different areas and figure out, what the puzzle pieces are that come together for that particular day. And that's what brings me back and keeps me coming.
It's good times, man.
Yeah, it's addictive.
Yeah. Well, where are we fishing next week, Chris? You decided yet?
I don't know. So Daniel's going to come in. Daniel's supposed to be coming in town. He's coming in from Oklahoma City area. I'm thinking we'll probably either hit up Lavon or Lake Tawakoni. Lavon is probably a little bit closer for him since he's driving in for, I don't seem like that's about a 3.5 hour drive already. So I'd hate to put him through another hour and 30-minute drive, but
Let's do Lavon. I'm good with that.
we may hit Lavon. I've got some friends that fish Lavon. So I get intel from friends, and I know a lot of guides as well. And it's taken a lifetime to build all these relationships to be able to get credible intel from guys that are actually giving you the real information.
Yeah.
A lot of times they'll tell you a bunch of baloney, send you off in the wrong direction. But my friends, I've built some good relationships with these guys. So, when they tell me something is something, then I believe it. So I'm going to put out the word this week. And I don't know what the fish are going to do with this warm up, Bill. I mean, I know
hope
they're
we
not
didn't have
all
a
going to
shad
stay
kill.
deep.
I don't know. That's what I was interested to. Have you got any reports of a shad kill of any significance?
I have been asking. I've not heard one thing about a shad kill, but that does not surprise me because the water is already cold, so I think everything was deep, and what happens with the shad kill is you get a rapid cool off where things are warm, and then all of a sudden you get a hard cold snap where things get trapped up in that more shallow water, and it gets those thread fin and just kills them off. I'm sure we probably had a little bit of a shad kill, but I haven't heard what the water temperature was today. I'll start getting reports back as soon as I get off of this live stream. I've got my phone on do not disturb, but
Yeah, that
we'll
sounds
start getting water
that sounds
temperature,
good.
and I'll start knowing. I'll start putting something together probably Wednesday when I start hearing what the water temperature has been and what it's now moving to. This time of year, it starts moving into that transition time where you're going to have a certain number of them that want to go really shallow. So
Yeah, it's getting
I'm
that
hoping
time.
that we can avoid that bite and we can stay out in those mid depths, pulling big baits for big fish, because that's what I like to do.
Me too. I'm gonna bring my kayak this week. So maybe we can do the split screen. It appears that I'm not going to be able to see any of the comments, so you'll just have to keep me updated on that,
Okay.
Chris.
I've got my friend Tim. He was on here a while ago. His home lake is Lavon, and I think he plans on fishing it Tuesday or Wednesday. That'll give us an idea of kind of where the fish are going to be going. I think things
Yeah,
change rapidly in that short a time frame, but I imagine we can find some big fish.
I like Lavon. It's got those long places that you can drift.
Yeah, it's got a lot of mud flats too that are,
Yeah,
you can get out on. Plus, that lake has so much timber, and when they kind of move out into that mid depth and deeper water, it pushes them. That timber is like prime blue cat country, but when it gets cold, it pushes them all out of that, which really they get easy to catch if you can be on a fishery like that. So hopefully it's going to be working out for us. There's Tim. He's going to be out Wednesday, so he give us a report. I've got some friends that are going to be fishing Lavon, Tawakoni. I think I've got a buddy that'll be fishing Lake Worth. I know one that's going to be some guys are on Louisville. I'm going to knock Louisville off the list because till the water gets back into the 50s, it's a difficult lake to fish. Our deep water has timber in it, so it makes for drifting difficult, and I don't like anchoring in 50 foot of water. So
ooh, yeah.
When they go deep, I tend to leave my lake and go to other fisheries, and I
Well,
think
it's fun.
the second half of February we'll move back over to Louisville and start fishing it again. But uh, I'm gonna keep this thing rolling on the road for the next few weeks. I think.
Heck yeah. Me too. I
Sweet.
think.
Well,
I'd
yeah.
like to
So
hit T-Walk one time this year. I usually have already went, but it's just been a weird year with the weather.
yeah. So me and Tim went. I've been a couple of times. Me and Tim went, and we had some success, but it was not one of those trips where you're like, it's I'll remember it because my son caught his PB, 44 pounds.
Yeah.
That was the only fish we caught on day one. We only caught one fish, and um, we had a hard time even finding them. Day two, we moved up a little shallower, moved up the lake, and we found some very scattered, but it was not the easiest fishing. I think day two, we caught 3 over 20 and one that was around 30 pounds. So it was a success because our boys, Tim's got a young grandson that he brings. Him and Jackson are similar age. They're very similar kids, really
Wyatt,
wild.
right? Wyatt. Is his name
Wyatt,
Wyatt?
Wyatt, I
Yeah.
call him Wyatt the Riot. So we
I
got
watched
Wyatt
that
the
video.
Riot and Action Jackson the Texas Tornado. When we put
Yeah,
them
yeah.
both together, they're the twin tornadoes. It's like,
I believe you made a video. I'm pretty sure I watched that.
yeah, it's fun, really fun to fish with those kids because they'll actually get going on the fishing part. Whereas I think probably Wyatt's a lot like Tim. It's hard to keep them motivated on the boat. Um, Springtime's a little easier because you're catching a bunch of fish and they can
Yeah.
stay. They can stay. You know, uh, I don't know what the word I'm thinking is, but they can stay like they're. It gives them
They
something to do
preoccupy each
constantly.
other.
And if you let some kid like my son, if you leave him to do whatever the hell he wants, he's not going to want to fish for very long. So, one
Yeah.
cool thing about being on the boat is they can go play, do whatever the hell they want, and then when we do catch one, we can, try to motivate them to come over and reel the thing in. Some days they'll want to catch them all. And then, when it's been cold, like me and you've been fishing, Bill, it's hard to get him to come out from underneath that blankie. So
Yeah.
I love catching big fish, but I also enjoy seeing my son battle these little eaters. So I'm looking forward to the warm spring weather when we can anchor up and you know anchor up in 2 foot, 3 foot of water and put out all the rods and clickers, turn the clickers on and
Yeah.
listen to those clickers sing and let him for him to battle a 5 pound fish, it's like you or I battling a 30.
He does pretty
You've
good on
seen
that
him fight at
rod, man.
20, that
Yeah.
26. It gave him everything he could handle, and he didn't
Yeah,
want.
he was getting after it.
He was ready to give up on it, and but these little ones, it's easier for him, and you know
Yeah.
keeps him more motivated, I guess. That's the word I was looking for.
Well, you were not lying about that live stream taking your battery. I think I'm down to 37%. That's crazy. So I'll
Yeah,
make sure to
yeah,
bring my battery when we go next week.
yeah. That battery seems to be the biggest issue
Yeah.
with doing this stuff live or even the GoPro. It's like right when you got the best fish of the day on, everything's dead. And the
Yep.
same thing with when we caught the 40 a couple weeks ago, the
Oh,
battery.
yeah.
We looked up and the stream was gone. It's like our best fish of the day.
And then
We
we
don't
couldn't
have
get
the
a
stream
GoPro
up and
even
running.
going. Yeah, it's always something.
Hey, thanks, Steve. We appreciate you, man.
Thanks, Steve.
Yep, we had fun. We're going to do some more of this kind of stuff, and I appreciate everybody helping us grow the channel. It's a ton of fun. I know it's just been a couple of months, and we were it's been a couple of months, and we were at 200, and we're at 435 or something like that now. So it's really cool that we're starting to get some people that are enjoying watching, and not just watching, but joining in on these lives and talking. I think it's really cool to be able to talk to my friends while we're fishing and and then I get to go on some of their live streams and do the same thing when they're fishing. So I appreciate everybody, and Ron. Here's Ron. He won the 200 subscriber giveaway. He won the I gave away a Blue Cat custom reel. I still hadn't seen you catch a big fish on it, Ron. I'm waiting on that, buddy. Let's see here. Thanks, Ron. We appreciate you, man. You guys are awesome. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate you, man. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, everyone else. I've been trying to watch the comments as it goes here.
I don't know what that means. Oh, they scared of that reel. They scared of that reel. Ron, I don't know. Have I sent you a decal? Probably need to get you that 4-leaf clover, buddy. Oh, you got the decal. That's what got you those big fish the other day.
I got 2 on my yaks now.
You got them on the yaks. You're going to start catching the biggest damn fish of your life now, Bill.
I hope so. I got them right on the tail portion of both of them. Hey, you got a place of honor right there with the flying fish sticker and the.
I appreciate it, man. I'm still waiting on that killer bee sticker you ordered.
Well, the guy actually finally got with me and said that, hey, looky there. There's Riley.
All right.
He said he's almost done with
Bill,
them, so.
You need to get her on the boat for the get together so we can.
Oh yeah. Hey, do you want to win a trophy?
Yeah.
Oh, you got your Killer Bee shirt on? Man, she rocks the merch all the time, man. She's
awesome,
always good.
Man. Awesome. We'll
Hey,
get her on the boat. Hopefully we can get her a trophy or a ride.
You want to win a trophy?
Yeah.
You got to come. You got to come try to catch a big blue cat.
I'll come.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Why does this always like copy things after I do them?
It's like a lag deal going on. Anyway.
Okay.
So any of you guys that want me to send you a decal, hit me up on my email. It's send me your address, leave me your address. I'll send you one of these decals. Here's the decals. These are bigger than the last. This is a 4-inch.
I'm going to find a better place to do my stickers, Chris. I'm getting charged like $10 a sticker right now.
Oh, that's insane, man. I'll tell you, I used makestickers.com last time. They were 62 cents a piece for a 4-inch with the split back. I think that's really cheap. Another friend of mine, Bobcat Outdoors, he makes decals, T-shirts, everything. He's a blue cat fisherman.
I'm subscribed to him.
Probably need to get with him and get a price list. He's got a price list. He'll send you. He can send you. He's got a website that's got, I think, all the prices on there. I haven't checked what his prices are, but he can. If you've got a graphic that you want tinkered with, or he can do all that as well. So, Bobcat Outdoors, go check him out. He's got a
I'm
cool
subscribed,
channel too.
so I'll just hit him up on his next video.
And guys, also make sure you give us a thumbs up and hit subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Go over to Bill's channel, check him out, and subscribe, watch some video, send him a comment, give him some thumbs up, show him some support. He's been a good friend to me and to help me get this thing going. And I'd appreciate it if you guys would go over there and help him out as well. I think that's probably, we'll wrap it up, and we'll be back on the water next weekend. So hopefully we'll see some more of you guys over there and to join us and help us keep trying to make this show a cool show and to help us grow this thing into something that's we can keep doing, week after week, year after year. So appreciate you guys. And I'm going to wrap it up. I'll let Bill say bye and whatever he wants to say.
I just want to thank Chris for having me on his boat for the last month. Like I said, I've learned so much. And if you're not learning, you're just not doing it right. There's always something to learn. And you go to a different platform with a fine angler like Chris, and you keep your ears open, man, your eyes open as well. And I have, and I've learned a lot of stuff that I can take over when I do get a boat and start, and I'll have a base to build off of. So really want to say thanks to Chris for having me on the show. Thanks for having me on his boat for the last month. I've had a good time and made a friend for life for sure.
Yeah, definitely. We've definitely built something here, Bill, and you know, we're bonded for life, if not just from the trips we've had and the fish we've caught together. And I've appreciated, you know, becoming really good friends in such a short time. You're the type of guy that's it's easy to be friends with, but you're also, you know, you're like a brother to me, and it's just hard to find somebody who you really hit it off with like that. And I appreciate our friendship, and I'm looking forward to fishing with you, not just, you know, from time to time, but hopefully we can make this a fairly regular thing. We can keep doing it year after year. And you know, I appreciate everything that you've done for me, buddy.
You got it, man. You got it. Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all having me on. If I didn't answer someone's question, hit me up on any of my videos. Ask me, and I'll make sure I get to it.
All right, guys, we'll see y'all. We'll see y'all on the water soon. Azul out.